Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're stepping into a pretty profound guidebook, Ram Dass's Journey of Awakening, a meditator's guidebook.
Yeah, it's a classic. And the author's backstory is just fascinating, isn't it? Richard Alpert, Harvard psychologist, part of the whole scene with Timothy Leary and the early psychedelic explorations.
Right, searching for something deeper about consciousness.
Yeah.
But he found that, well, even those incredible psychedelic glimpses weren't the whole story, not the lasting answer he was looking for.
Exactly. The source material makes it clear he really explored all kinds of external paths first, trying revolution, dropping out, chasing pleasure, looking into different philosophies, different religions.
Looking everywhere except inside, basically.
Hmm?
His journey took him from the heights of Harvard academia through those intense psychedelic years and eventually led him all the way to India, to the Himalayas.
And that's where it clicked, apparently. The realization that the real answer, that deep, lasting peace, it wasn't out there. It had to be found directly within yourself.
hmm And this book, this guidebook, it maps out that direct approach primarily through meditation and, well, all the related practices.
Yeah, it's quite comprehensive.
So our mission in this deep dive is to really unpack the core ideas from this book, explore the practical wisdom he shares about this journey of awakening. We want to see how meditation, in its widest sense, can actually fit into your life right now.
And hopefully pull out some of those, surprising insights or relatable examples that make these big ideas feel a bit more grounded.
Okay, so where do we start?
Hmm.
I think it makes sense to begin where Ram Dass suggests many journeys begin, maybe where he himself started, the feeling of disillusionment.
That's right. That sense that something's missing, even when you've achieved what society tells you is success. You've ticked the boxes, career, relationships, maybe money, managing your desires or anger.
Getting better at work, at play, all of it.
Yeah.
But there's still this underlying feeling of, well, hollowness. No real deep sense of peace or, as he puts it, integrity.
Mm-hmm. That quiet, nagging feeling that no matter how much you get or achieve on the outside, the inside still feels
Yeah.
incomplete.
And the book points out how people then start looking around, trying anything to fill that gap, right? Throwing themselves into causes or dropping out or just constantly seeking the next distraction, the next pleasure.
Ram Dass's own life story is kind of the ultimate example of that external search before he really, truly turned inward.
Until he finally describes finding this integrity in my being that includes the deepest as well as the most superficial. It's not about fighting parts of yourself anymore.
It's about wholeness. Yeah.
Finding that connection seems key. But before we get to the how, the book really digs into what Ram Dass sees as the main obstacle. Our almost complete identification with our own minds, our egos.
The mind. He has such vivid descriptions, doesn't he? Like a raging, roaring river of thoughts just constantly flowing.
Nonstop. And what's the main theme?
Think of me, me first. Think of me. It's that constant self-focused chatter.
And for most of us, most of the time, we're totally caught up in it. We don't just have thoughts. We're the thoughts. We identify with every sensation, every feeling, every idea as me.
Totally swept away. But then Ram Dass introduces this really crucial shift in perspective. He says, look, you're the essential, you're not actually the senses or the thoughts themselves.
You're the awareness that's paying attention to that.
Exactly. He uses that great analogy about reading a book. You're so absorbed, right? Someone could walk into the room, your ears technically register the sound, but you don't notice because your awareness is locked onto the story.
So the sound happened, the potential thought, someone's here, might have even flickered, but your awareness, the you, was directed elsewhere. You're the witness.
You're the witness, not the thing being witnessed. But we get so lost in being the thought, in being the ego.
So what about the ego? The book describes it as this matrix of thoughts, feelings, and sensations.
Yeah, and it's necessary, right? It helps us navigate the world, survive. It gives us security by labeling things, telling us who we are in relation to everything else. It serves a purpose.
But the problem comes when we believe that construction is us. Completely.
That's the trap. He uses that metaphor. The ego is like the room that the mind built.
And we each think our little room is the whole universe. We're stuck inside, yelling out of your room, and I'm yelling out of mine, totally separate.
Uh-huh. And what's really interesting is how trying to fight the room, trying to break out, often just reinforces its reality. You're still obsessed with the room.
It's like punching a shadow. You just make it seem more solid. And this total identification, this clinging to the ego thoughts, that's where the suffering comes from. The book quotes Gampopa, wherever there is attachment, association with it brings endless misery.
And identifying with thoughts, with the ego, That is attachment. Big time.
Okay, so if that's the core problem, this deep-seated identification,
Mhm.
then the solution Ram Dass presents is meditation.
Right. That's the primary tool offered.
So what's the main goal of meditation, according to the book?
Fundamentally, it's about breaking that automatic, unconscious connection between your awareness and whatever your awareness lands on: a thought, a sound, a feeling, an itch.
It frees up your awareness.
Exactly. So you can actually direct it consciously instead of just being yanked around by every little impression that comes along.
And when that identification starts to loosen, when you feel that separation, that's when you get more of those meditative moments, right? Those glimpses of peace, harmony, real quietness, simple joy.
Yeah, moments where you see things with fresh eyes, what the book calls innocent eyes, like seeing the world for the first time again.
And these moments, they can happen spontaneously sometimes, can't they? The book mentions things like trauma, certain drugs, intense sex, being out in nature, falling in love.
Right, those peak experiences can give you a powerful taste, a hint that, wow, there is something more than my usual limited self.
But meditation isn't just about chasing those highs or trying to repeat them.
No, definitely not. The practice is about cultivating that free awareness more consistently, increasing those moments until, ideally, as the source puts it beautifully, your entire life is meditation in action.
Wow. So the goal isn't to escape life into some meditative bubble.
Not at all. It's about transforming your actual everyday experience through the practice, living fully in the present, dwelling in harmony, waking up right here, right now.
And part of that harmony seems to be about perspective, seeing life from different angles, understanding what the book calls relative realities.
Mm-hmm. We all wear so many hats, don't we? Our identity shifts: sexual, social, intellectual, professional, depending on the situation.
And usually we're just completely lost inside whichever hat we're wearing at that moment. It's like that movie analogy again.
Yeah, you're so caught up in the plot, you forget you're even in a theater watching it.
Your life becomes the movie, with all its drama, the striving, the fears, the hopes, the constant worry about, will I get enlightened? Will I get that promotion? Does this person like me? Your personal soap opera, or as the book calls it, his story, her story.
And meditative awareness, that quiet space, allows you to kind of pull back from the screen a bit.
You don't deny the story is happening. You don't pretend it isn't real on its level.
No, but you surround it with this quiet, spacious awareness. You can watch the plot unfold, see your own reactions, the patterns, from a bit of a distance.
It creates this wider vantage point. The book gives the example of looking at, say, a difficult relationship with your parents.
Uh-huh.
Instead of just the same old knee-jerk reaction, the anger, the guilt, whatever it is.
You can suddenly see it from multiple levels at once. Maybe it is just a conditioned reaction.
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe it's soul-level stuff, karma playing out. Or maybe you can see the psychological dynamics, the power struggle, the generation gap.
Or even from the very deepest perspective, you might see it as just God talking to God. All these layers are present simultaneously.
And the crucial thing here, the book stresses, is this isn't just intellectual gymnastics. You're not thinking your way to this clarity. No, it arises from stillness, from a place where you just know. You grasp the entire gestalt, the whole picture, intuitively without having to pick it apart mentally.
And that deeper knowing allows for a response that's actually appropriate, harmonious, rather than just automatic.
Makes sense. Okay, so if that's the aim-free awareness, living in harmony, seeing from these wider perspectives, how do we actually get there? The book is very clear. There's no single right way.
Lots of paths up the mountain.
Exactly. And that's really freeing. Meditation isn't just sitting quietly with your eyes closed, although that's one way. Fundamentally, it's about what you do with your mind. It's about training your attention.
So the book explores a whole range of practices. Let's touch on some of them. Sitting meditation is obviously a big one.
Yeah, the classic form. Find a comfortable position. Keep your back straight. That helps with alertness. Chair, cushion, doesn't really matter. The aim is that physical stillness helps create mental stillness.
And diet comes up too. Not as rigid rules, but developing sensitivity.
Right. Noticing how different foods feel. Maybe finding that red meat, heavy sugars, alcohol make you feel, well, heavy. And maybe you naturally start leaning towards lighter foods, fruits, grains, veggies, because they feel better.
But the key point is no specific rules.
Yeah.
People become enlightened eating anything.
Absolutely. It's about consciousness, being aware of what you put in your body, and maybe even more importantly, what you feed your mind. You know, eating organic kale while watching violent news. Maybe not the most balanced approach.
Good point. Okay, so you're sitting, Trying to be still.
Mm-hmm.
What about that raging, roaring river of thoughts? How do you deal with that?
That's where the famous leaves on a stream analogy comes in. You're not trying to dam the river impossible, you just shift your focus to the stream, which is your awareness.
So a thought pops up.
You notice it, like seeing a leaf float by, acknowledge it without judgment, and then gently bring your attention back to the breath or whatever your anchor is.
And the book says, don't beat yourself up when your mind wanders.
Oh, yeah. It will wander, probably thousands of times. The practice is just in the gentle, persistent returning, over and over.
Breath awareness is another key method mentioned.
Yes, because it's always there, always available, just feeling the sensation of breathing in, breathing out. When thoughts pull you away, sounds, itches, plans, you just notice, let them be, and guide your focus back to the breath. It's pure practice in non-identification.
And then there's mantra, using a sound or phrase, like RAM.
Mantra is powerful. You're basically setting up one intentional thought, the mantra, to kind of crowd out or loosen your attachment to all the other random thoughts.
Like the driving example in the book.
Yeah, repeating ram, ram, ram while you drive. Your body handles the driving mostly automatically, right? So a part of your mind can stay with the mantra. You still notice other thoughts arising, but you're less likely to get hooked by them because your primary focus is elsewhere. It creates this detachment.
Visualization is another path explored, like picturing a compassionate being.
Mm-hmm. Using your imagination actively to cultivate specific qualities. Imagining sitting with Christ or Buddha or Mary, feeling their unconditional love, maybe seeing them in your heart radiating light. It's a way to directly open yourself to feelings of compassion, peace, patience.
And prayer is discussed too, but not just reciting words.
Right. It's framed as actually speaking to the divine rather than just about it. The source quotes someone saying, true, whole prayer is nothing but love. It's about that heartfelt connection. You can do it anywhere, creating an altar in your mind.
Nature contemplation sounds lovely and maybe a bit easier for some people.
It often is, yeah. Nature just naturally inspires that feeling of connection, of unity. The practice is about really seeing it freshly, like a child. Engaging all your senses, taste the wind, lick the rain, feel the earth beneath you like you're a seed, let the sound of the ocean vibrate through you.
Letting go of the labels and concepts.
Exactly, observing things unmolested by your thinking mind until hopefully there's just this moment of breathless unity, no separation between you and the tree or the ocean or the sky.
Devotional practices are also highlighted, opening to love for God or the divine presence.
Yeah, things like satsang, just being in the company of others on the path, enjoying stories about saints or deities, serving a teacher or guru, which is seen as a way to wear down the ego's insistence on me first.
And kirtan, chanting or singing.
Especially kirtan, singing the names or praises. And the emphasis is totally on singing from the heart. Doesn't matter if you're musically gifted or not. It's the intention, the repetition, the feeling behind it that opens things up bit by bit.
Movement practices get attention too. The idea that every move is a prayer.
For sure. Hatha yoga postures, asanas, are seen as ways to actually change the energy flow in your body, make you more receptive. Tai Chi, martial arts at a high level, the self dissolves into the perfection of the form. Sufi dancing, where movement and chant merge.
The book even gives practical tips for yoga postures.
Yeah, doing them slowly, staying relaxed, coordinating with the breath, resting in between. It mentions Surya Namaskar, the sun salutation, as a kind of moving meditation.
And mindfulness seems like a really broad approach, applicable anywhere.
It is, just quietly paying attention to whatever's happening, inside or out. Listening deeply, noticing the individual sounds within a larger soundscape, or observing your own thoughts and feelings as just changing phenomena passing through awareness.
Just let things happen. Observe without judging or grabbing onto things.
Right. Mindful eating is a great example. Really tasting, chewing, swallowing, noticing the impulse to grab the next bite before you finish the first.
Yeah.
It cuts through greediness and lets you actually enjoy the food. Mindful walking, too, feeling the lift, the movement, the placement of your foot.
And you can do this anywhere, even walking down a busy street.
Absolutely. The book mentions walking through New York City. You notice your awareness getting pulled by all the stimuli, sights, sounds, smells, but you practiced remaining centered in that quiet, observant space amidst it all.
Okay, and lastly, the book talks about using intention.
Yeah.
Consciously directing your will.
Yeah, this is like actively working with your inner world. The garbage recycling game is such a great image for this. Taking those moments when you feel negativity towards someone.
And consciously transforming that energy, turning the toxic thought into a wish for their well-being, sending them a blessing instead.
or offering up difficulties, pain, a frustrating task, a long journey as a kind of love offering, aligning it with something bigger than your personal preference.
Even acknowledging your inner devils, those difficult feelings, giving them a bit of space before consciously choosing to return to your practice to goodwill.
But the source warns this isn't meditation if you're doing it just to get a result.
Right, because then the ego is still driving, wanting an outcome. But if you play this game lightly, consistently, just turning towards goodwill again and again, maybe, just maybe, one day the separation dissolves. Garbage, recycler, blessing, thinker, it all becomes one.
Wow, okay. That's a lot of different paths, but the book is clear. This isn't like climbing a ladder step by step. It's more definitely. It's described as a spiral, not a straight line. You might circle back to certain practices or find yourself drawn to completely different approaches at different times in your life.
And those peak experiences we talked about, the moments of bliss or deep insight.
They're just markers, the book says, signposts showing you possibilities. But they are not the destination. You can't cling to them. You can't try to engineer them again.
There's that story about the 15-day meditation retreat.
Yeah, Ram Dass had this profound experience of peace, but realized afterwards, okay, that was amazing, but it's still an experience. It's limited. Anything you can name or label, he says, isn't it? The ultimate reality is beyond concepts, beyond experiences.
And there are traps along the way, right? Spiritual pitfalls.
Oh, yeah. Spiritual materialism is a big one, turning your spiritual practice into just another form of achievement, collecting experiences or status, or becoming rigid, fanatical.
The advice is pretty simple, though. Just do your practices. Don't make a big deal of them.
Exactly. Don't romanticize it. Just keep showing up. And be a bit careful who you share your deepest stuff with, especially early on.
Why that?
Because sometimes people who don't understand can project their own doubts onto you, and it can shake your own fragile faith. The tradition of keeping a mantra secret sometimes serves this protective function.
What about teachers? The book discusses their role.
It suggests they can be really valuable, not just for technique, but because sometimes they transmit a certain energy, a spirit that goes beyond words.
Like the story with Swami Muktananda and Shakti.
Right. Muktananda could apparently transmit this spiritual energy that could cause really intense physical or emotional experiences in people. Ram Dass admits feeling a bit jealous or worried at first because he wasn't having those dramatic fireworks.
That he realized later they weren't the point.
Exactly. They aren't necessary. And a good teacher can also spot how your ego might be sneakily twisting the practice to serve itself in ways you're completely blind to.
But it's balanced, isn't it? The book also says ultimately you can only do it yourself.
You have to trust your own heart, your inner knowing. There's that beautiful Chuang-Tse quote about seeing yourself in still water, not running water. Only stillness can impart stillness.
And Suzuki Roshi's idea. When you forget all your dualistic ideas, everything becomes your teacher.
Life itself teaches you. Yeah.
Retreats in solitude are mentioned as ways to speed things up, maybe?
They can definitely accelerate the process, even just a day alone or a weekend, or finding an empty room, even a closet.
Why is solitude so powerful?
Because it strips away all the external stuff you usually blame or credit for your state of mind. You're left face to face with how much your own mind is creating your reality.
Like the Benedictine monk washing dishes for 16 years to find peace.
Exactly. It wasn't the dishes, it was the inner work. The book contrasts that with war prisoners suffering terribly in similar conditions to those Ram Dass chose in the Himalayas where he felt ecstasy.
It really hammers home that freedom is internal. I love the story of Ram Dass holding his plane ticket back home, letting himself fantasize about dancing to the Grateful Dead.
Before consciously putting the fantasy aside and returning to his quiet practice. It's so human, acknowledging those pulls.
And through all this, faith and persistence are crucial, especially when it gets tough.
Oh, absolutely. When you hit boredom or doubt or physical discomfort or just sheer fatigue, you need faith that the practice actually works, that it changes awareness over time.
That Zen retreat story is great for illustrating persistence.
Yeah. Ram Dass is cold, miserable, wants to leave, gets this impossible-seeming koan from the Roshi, feels like he's failing.
But he just keeps trying, keeps engaging.
And eventually, the Roshi acknowledges him as a beginning student of Zen, not because he got it perfectly, but because of the effort. The value is in the striving, the showing up.
And always trusting your heart, knowing when a practice isn't working for you anymore, when to shift, being honest with yourself.
You have to live your own life, make your own choices on the path.
So all this work, all these practices, it's not about escaping the world, is it? It's about integrating this awareness into the world, being in the world but not of it.
Exactly. It's not a spiritual bypass. If you only feel peaceful when you're meditating alone, the work isn't finished. Real freedom means functioning effectively, compassionately, right here in the messy world.
The book even talks about mundane responsibilities,
Yeah.
paying taxes, voting, fulfilling your duties. Social action, too, if it comes from compassion.
Right. And it's not about abandoning your roles, mother, worker, activist, but about how you inhabit them. Bringing that consciousness, that awareness to whatever you're doing.
Meditative awareness gives you clarity for action without being rigidly attached to your own viewpoint, like Gandhi.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And that quote from St. Abadortheus is powerful. Preserving your inner state is like 7/8 of the challenge. The real secret to success in anything isn't just the outer skill, but the inner attitude you bring to it.
Whether it's meditation or playing tennis or raising kids.
And the Bhagavad Gita echoes the inner work, facing your own demons, your reactivity. That's a crucial battleground. And deepening your own being actually helps others. It feeds the world in a subtle way.
So what does it look like when someone has really done this work? What are the fruits of the practice?
The source describes a noticeable change. People become bright, clear, strong. Their relationships tend to become more fulfilling. Simple moments feel sufficient. There's a lightness about them. Their lives just seem to have come together.
But even that stage can be a trap.
Yeah, it warns that this integrated state can become a beautiful mountain pasture, comfortable, peaceful, but potentially another form of spiritual materialism, settling for less than total liberation. It's seen as preparation for the final climb, not the summit itself.
And as you go deeper, more intense energy can arise.
It can, yeah. As the usual boundaries thin out, that's why purifying the mind and body helps prepare the vessel. If the energy arises without balance, it can feel like shaking, nervousness, even paranoia or agitation.
How do you balance it?
With love. Focusing on the heart center, breathing love in and out, that prevents the energy from becoming overwhelming, transforms it into the power of love. A good guide can help sense imbalances, but often, the book suggests, your own intuitive common sense can handle moderate shifts. Energy and love are ultimately one.
Humor also seems to emerge as part of this perspective.
A definite sign. Seeing the cosmic joke in our human drama, the absurdity of our suffering sometimes, it brings lightness, compassion, seeing through the illusion. The Buddha is described with just that tiny upturn in the mouth.
The anecdotes are great. The dying man asking for a banana.
And Maharajji saying, there is no dying man, there is no banana. Or the Zen masters with the sack and the penny, that spontaneous freedom beyond concepts. It makes you chuckle, but it points to something deep.
Which leads to the final stage described in the book, the return to the valley.
The return. The person who comes back from this journey isn't the same one who left. There's this profound quietness, deep compassion, a wisdom that feels timeless. They become a kind of light for others just by being.
But it's an achievement which is no achievement.
Exactly. Because the achiever, the separate ego, isn't really there in the same way. It allows them to be utterly, wonderfully, nothing special.
How is that state described?
It's the absence of identification with the personal story, the ego. What's left is pure awareness, pure compassion, pure love. Everything happens in the present moment, but that moment contains the richness of all time. Action is intuitive, guided by need, by karma, not by calculation.
There's a simple innocence, like a child's.
Yes, and from that silence that lies behind thought, they hear the symphony of the universe.
That unbounded, spacious awareness.
It's described as an ocean of love, and it's so vast, it includes everything, even things we perceive as negative, like hate, because it exists beyond those dualities, beyond polarity altogether.
The final story about Ram Dass thinking he was beyond attachment to his guru's form.
Only for Maharajji to have someone touch Ram Dass's feet and say, he and I understand each other perfectly. Boom. Connection beyond form, beyond the personal, pure consciousness, recognizing itself.
Wow. So we've gone from feeling something's missing, through understanding the trap of identifying with the mind, finding the key and freeing awareness, through all these different practices, navigating the challenges, integrating it all into life, and glimpsing this state of transformed return.
It's quite a map, and it underscores that it's a very personal journey with many tools available. It requires patience, persistence, trusting your own inner guidance, and yeah, definitely keeping a sense of humor about it all.
This guidebook really opened things up. And it leaves us with this final thought, doesn't it? Something Ramana Maharshi called an open secret. It is all an open secret.
What if this ocean of love, this unbounded spacious awareness, this deep presence, What if it isn't some far-off mystical goal we have to strive for years to reach?
What if it's actually right here, right now, available in the simple present moment,
Yeah.
if we could just stop?
Stop talking so much, stop thinking so much, and just, as the book keeps suggesting, trust our heart. What small thing could you do, could any of us do, maybe even today? Just one small step to loosen that grip of constant thought and maybe, just maybe, taste a little bit of that freedom, that open secret.